All right, welcome to the recap video for the month December of 2025, and I am recording this video on January 20. So this is a pretty late video, but I was on holiday in Thailand for a couple of weeks, which caused a pretty big delay for this video. So when we take a look at the December overall, it's not a pretty good month or a pretty bad month. It's overall pretty flat, which just means that one year it's profitable, the other year it's losing, the other year it's like break even. And yeah, this year it was pretty good, I must say. I did make profits. There were some setups which made a pretty good amount of money, but most setups only made a smaller amount or around break even or a small loss. So I will be loading in all of these setups here and running a test and then showing it to you. So I will not show the settings because this video is public and I don't want everyone to know the exact settings. So I'll load it in, then I'll go to the tester and start it. So just before I start it, I want to show you, let me close off this. I want to show you the settings that I'm using. So we're running obviously zone search, use the JPY for December. So this is data that I downloaded from Tick Data Manager. So it's from dukascopy. It's the highest quality tick data available. And I'm running it from November 30 because that's a Sunday. And if I start it on the first day, it misses the first day's trades for some reason. And I am running it not until the end of December, but until the 21st. And the reason why is because we're not running the last 2 weeks of the year. And that's because the markets are usually closed or there's very low volume. So I told everyone to not run the last 2 weeks of December and the first week of January. We're obviously running it on every tick based on real tick, since this is the highest quality tick data. Anything else is not legit. We're running a delay of 100 milliseconds, which is pretty much the same that I'm running. It's even worse, I think. We're running it on a 10,000 euro account, 1 to 500 leverage, but this doesn't really matter. And that's pretty much it. So let me just start the test. And then I'll go to the graph and make this bigger and show you the result. So use the JPY1. And by the way, this video is not going to be exciting. This video is not going to be exciting at all. It's just some data. And I want to be very open about it. So this this setup was around break even. Every time I'm done, I'll make this small, go here, and then I'll load the next setup. So that's going to be USD JPY2, which was one of the better setups. So I need to make it bigger and smaller every time, which is really annoying. So you can see that USD JPY2 was pretty good. So this might made around 5% profit, which is very nice. Let me just make this smaller again, even smaller. And now we are going to test it on the third setup of USD JPY. Let me go back to the graph. And this setup was also very good. It's pretty similar to USD JPY3, so that's why it's pretty much the same results. I think USD JPY4 was the best performing pair, or setup, I mean. I think this one made around 10% profit, which is really good. I am running this on my own account, but obviously not with 1% risk, running it with less money. So this had 2 very big trades and then it was pretty flat. Overall, yeah, we can say like 9% profit, which is great. So my favorite setup out of all the setups that I provide is USD JPY setup 5, which is this one. And this one was around, let's just say, break even. When we start the test, we can see that like one good week, which we can also see in my Trader Waves account. And the rest was really flat. Well, we made like 1% profit, which is okay. It's what we can expect from December. So now we're moving on to the most risky setup out of everything. This is USD JPY6, which always has a very tiny zone, but when it hits a take profit, it makes an insane amount of money. So we can see it lost like 8 trades in a row, and then it made a huge winner, and then it lost again. So yeah, this one made minus 2.8%. Which was the worst performing pair, but when it wins really big. So yeah, the last months of USD JPY6 has not been great at all, but yeah, that's also part of trading. All right, let's move on to the last setup for USD JPY, which is 7. And we can see that this one hit a lot of profit often, but then it closed it at break even because this setup is using a break even feature. All right, so 2% profit. Let's move on to the next pair, which is going to be Australian dollar JPY. We'll keep everything the same. And let's load in the setup for this one. All of these setups are obviously shared in the guide. So everyone has access to all of these setups. And just start it. There we go. So Australian dollar JPY made also a pretty good amount of money. I'm risking this one with a little bit of money, not at all. Nothing big at all, I mean, sorry. So this one made 5%. I think I risk like 50 euro per trade on this one. I run a lot of setups because I like to spread out my risk. So that's the only setup we have for Australian dollar JPY. So now let's move on to Euro JPY. And let's load in the first setup that we have for Euro JPY. Here we go. Let's go to the backtester with a graph. Let's start it. And this one was plus 1.9%. So this is just what we can expect from December. Nothing special, like nothing great, nothing bad. 1 year it is profitable. The other year it's not profitable. It's a month that you can decide not to run, but I don't like to change these things with the bot too often, so I usually never turn it off, not even for a bank holiday, because we also don't do that in the backtests. This one made pretty much nothing, so break even. And then we go to the last setup for Euro JPY. Where is it? Here we are. And let's start it. This one made around like 1%. All right. So we're off to the last two pairs. So let's first start with GBP USD. And for this pair, we have two different setups that we provide. Let me just find the first one. Here we are. Let's go to the graph, make it bigger. This one, the first setup for GBP USD, made like 1% as well. So you can see that a lot of setups only made like 1% or 2% in December. Let's move on to the second one. And we can also pretty much see this in January as well. January overall is also not a great month because it's always has low volume overall. It doesn't have a lot of volume in December and also not in January. So this one made, let's just say, minus 1%, a small loss. So let's move on to the last pair, which is Euro USD. For this one, we also have just one setup. And all of these setups are obviously back-tested to 2013. So let me start this one. And once we have finished this test, we're pretty much done. So this one is a loss of minus 1.7%. So this has been the, with USD JPY60, worst performing pair in December. And the best setups were USD JPY2, 3, 4, and Australian dollar JPY. They all made over 5%, up to 9.7%. So that's the recap for December 2025. And in a couple of days, I will do a recap for January. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next recap video.